Hello, everyone. Welcome to Drop Frames. A little bit different here, though. Wheat, what episode are we on?
186.
Okay, it's appropriate. Okay, yeah. DJ Weish joining us. We've also got Burke Black filling in for Zeke and Co. Zeke's currently in Japan with Adam Coble. I've been catching some of their IRL streams. It's about what you would expect. We'll say that. You should definitely go watch some of those. And Co is taking care of his kids. Kai was born, I guess, a week and a half ago or something like that, and all is good. So all is well, from what I've been told and what I've heard. So good job, Co. I'm sure you did absolutely nothing. Congrats to your wife. And we're gonna continue on with the show. Wheat, it's been a minute since we've done literally anything together on the internet. How you been, man?
I've been good, man, and I'm like doing really good right now. Like I kind of feel like I've been in a box for a couple years, and I even saw some people in chat be like, "Man, I haven't seen Weed in a minute." And actually, I just changed jobs, and I've got some other big life changes coming. But like everything feels pretty good. I'm like I have some more time available now, so like being able to do stuff like this and other things is really quite exciting. So, dude, thank you for having me, and it's a pleasure to be here once again.
Yeah, we're glad to have you. You've been on a Drop Frames before, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean,
it was in the earlier episodes. You were on the live ones. That's
like,
right. Okay.
A couple Twitch centric ones.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. I didn't remember. It's been that long. Burke, what's been going on with you? Now we always have the same discussion. Have you slept? Or are you still up from your stream?
No, I slept. I cut it early.
Okay.
I cut it early for Drop Frames.
Okay. All right. So you slept like a couple hours. You're well rested then, one would say. Okay.
I'm good. I'm ready.
Good to hear. Good to hear.
Does this make me a series regular now? This is my third one, so
I think so.
Like a series regular.
Yeah, most people. I think Tally holds the record for number of times on the show. I think he's at like 5 or 6 or something like that.
Oh, really?
But you're definitely up there in terms of repeat guests. So yeah, it's a privilege. I don't know.
It might be.
It might be. Yeah. It might be.
You get a gold Drop Frames plaque, Burke, when you get 10. So
it's true. We haven't made one yet.
I don't know if anyone's made that. Yeah.
So I'm just gonna make sure no one ever comes on 10 times, and that's it's a thing, but it's not a thing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. We started off this call, and I don't know how long we'll spend on this, but I think Burke, last night you were talking about how your chat was constantly asking you to talk to Marcus, who obviously knows everything at Twitch. That's what his job is. It's everything at Twitch.
Everything.
About Article 13 being passed. And we talked about this briefly on the show before in terms of what it actually was. But I don't know if you know this, but Miko and Zeke are actually idiots. And we didn't know what the fuck we were talking about.
Yeah, same here. I don't know. I don't really understand it either that much.
Yeah. So I do know Article 13 passed. That's a thing that passed. And I learned today.
By five votes. That's like kind of the real kicker in the pants, is that like because a lot of shit was done, right? Not only by a lot of the big tech companies, but there were all sorts of rallies and public gatherings, especially in Germany and in other surrounding nations, and everyone was out to try to stop this. So like 5 votes is kind of a slap in the face a little bit, but that means there are 5 assholes on there that could not be convinced otherwise. So
yeah,
or 5 people that had no freaking idea what they were voting on, which is totally possible too.
That's probably the case.
More than likely, that's what it is. They're like, "Well, is this good? Okay, I'll just do it." Then.
Yeah, but it's in a European accent, not like that. What Burke just said, but in European accent. Yeah.
I subscribe these now.
Yes, accurate. That's 100% what it was. Probably a French person knowing it. It's probably blame the French all the time.
So apparently also 5 votes was just for the potential amendments. The actual vote was like a 70. Different. And this is where I'm an idiot. I don't know how the European Parliament works. I looked at a graphic that just was a bunch of dots that were different colors, and red had more dots than blue, and that was bad.
It's a good graphic It's always
Yeah.
a good way to say that. So I learned through the two of you that this actually doesn't go into effect till 2 years from now.
Yeah, two.
Correct.
And my understanding from what you guys were saying is that is because they're basically giving time to companies to get their shit
Get ready. Yeah.
I think it's two part from what I understand. Like part of it is that now that it's passed through European Parliament, it goes to the local level as well.
Okay.
And then on top of that, like, yes, no one is going to expect that an article passes like this, and then suddenly the next day, like people are flipping switches and the whole world's changed, right? Like,
Right.
there's still, I think, a lot of, well, what does that mean? And what are exactly the filters that need to be made? And what is the process for all of this to happen, right? Like, that is not necessarily 100% completely defined in all of that. So, yeah, there's like obviously a lot more that can happen. So although yesterday felt pretty bad overall, there's still like some pretty good fighting to be done between now and like the 2 years in which this could potentially ruin everything.
Yeah. So for content creators, is that 2 years to get a visa for the US? Like what?
I've heard some people talking about that, you know?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm willing to bite the bullet for my European brothers and sisters. If y'all need to get married, get to the United States. I'm your
Okay.
guy.
All right.
Help you out.
Burke's off. You know, he's doing what he can. He's doing what he can. Yeah. I mean, again, we're not the most knowledgeable about this, but like, should Twitch specific content creators be worried? Should YouTubers be worried? Like, what is the fear and how real is it?
So I mean, I think the real pull way back, the real fear is that it just shits on like the creative process overall and innovation overall, right? Because really at the simplest explanation, it's like right now, through like the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, which, you know, can be debated whether that's dated or not. You know, JP, if you decided, you know what, I'm going to watch Jurassic Park on my stream today, then obviously Universal can come and be like,
Fits the brand.
yeah,
Fits the brand,
JP, you know, like that you can't do that. You don't know the rights, right? And they issue a DMCA takedown, and they have sort of the right to do that. So imagine now that like, JP, you're no longer held liable for that. That actually Twitch is held liable for that. So obviously that would mean either two things would need to happen. A filter would have to be put in place that could recognize, oh, Jurassic Park is being played. Like, JP, no, you don't own that. Like, what are you doing? And like the libel is on us then. So Universal could come after the platform. Where that gets really scary. And again, I'm not suggesting like this is something that anyone is going to do, but like imagine if like, you know, Twitter was just like, well, we have to regulate every meme that gets posted now. So we're just going to decide that like you can't post images in Twitter posts anymore.
just to save
like,
themselves.
could you,
Yeah.
Right. Just because that's the best way to filter it. Like that sucks ass, right? We live in this world where sharing is sort of a part of it. And like, yes, there's rules to be followed, but at the end of the day, like that could be a solution that someone would just decide to go with. So the onus being on the platforms makes it really hard to essentially cater to the creators themselves.
Yeah. It sounds scary. I think the other thing that I saw a lot of people talking about was the fact that it is just so broad that no one really knows what.
Oh, it's super vague.
Yeah, it's broad and vague, and no one really knows how it's going to actually happen and what it's actually going to do 2 years from now. Like
we all see how that's working for YouTube to have some system behind you monitoring everything you're doing and how often that's abused and miscategorizing people and stuff like that all the time. So we were talking about it in chat, like Twitch would have to implement something like that, or Twitter would have to have something like that, which means it's just you basically just got people who have no business, who don't understand today's culture at all, and just making rules for people that they don't understand.
Which is probably
That's
government
sucks.
in a nutshell.
Yeah.
If you really want to get down to it.
That really sucks.
I have to say, GP, I feel like your chat's like they're fairly knowledgeable. Like there were some updates apparently to like memes and parodies, which just kind of muddy the water a little bit more anyway. But your chat seems to be on the ball, so good for them. Because honestly, it comes down to awareness, right? Like people just it's a hard thing to wrap your head around, especially when it's just like, well, wait, like that's not how the internet works. So good on chat for being on top of it.
Yeah, this is one of those things, kind of like when SOPA was a thing back in the day, where I wish TB was still around so that we could have a video from TB to explain this shit to idiots like me. Because
I watched TB's video on SOPA.
Yeah,
Cool.
that video got shared so much, and it was so informative to people of our generation and people in our industry. So, yeah, we need a new one of those. Someone clone TB. And make a new video for us, all right? And then you can go on making some more videos for us as well. But just that one about the about the stuff going on in Europe. So we'll keep an eye on that. I'm sure as the years or the next 2 years pass, you're going to hear a lot of stuff about it. And I hope it's not like the start of a change across the world. Like I hope the U.S. doesn't look at it and be like, oh, well, shit, maybe we should do something like that.
That's what the worry is. Current government of the U.S. going, hey, that sounds like a good idea. Huh?
It was funny you mentioned that too, because like I did get a chance to sit down with Emmett Shear, right, the CEO of Twitch, to talk a little bit about Article 13 and whatnot. And one of the things he said that has stuck with me is that there's a difference between copyright law is not bad. Right. Like it is not bad at all. But there's a difference between like good copyright law and bad copyright law. And it's widely known that like the DMCA has, sort of, while again, it could be used some updating, like it's served its purpose quite well in terms of protecting all those rights holders. So, I think at the end of the day, this just represented kind of a what I would say is a lazy copyright reform. So It's also right, we shouldn't just shit on copyright reform, right, because it allows people to do things like a show like Drop Frames, but at the same time there's definitely the difference between good and bad, and so that's why sort of informing and awareness is super important.
Yep, I would agree. We will be talking games here, but at the top of the show, we mentioned that he had moved on to a new job, and I saw a bunch of people in chat talking like, "Oh, you left Twitch? Like, what's going on?" So I'll give you a second to kind of address what this new job is for those that haven't heard.
So I mean, other than like kind of talking about it on Twitter, I guess I haven't really had the chance to chat about it too much. But for the past few years, I've been the director of Twitch Studios, which has been an amazing experience. We built this team. We have created, a number of shows, initiative, done all the content for TwitchCon, and it's been awesome. I've loved every second of it. But you know what? I also kind of learned, and kids, this is like a life moment. Especially like if you are working in sort of any sort of company where you are trying to sort of path out your own career development. By the end of last year, I was spending about 90% of my time just being a manager. And let me tell you something, right? Like I didn't make it in this industry because I was good at managing fucking people. Like I made it here because of sort of, the early days of innovating on streaming and being involved with esports and building like those relationships and wanting to educate on it. And like, those are really where my sort of power points are when it comes to like the best way that I could serve Twitch. So, I went to Twitch and I basically said, this is kind of how I feel, is that I don't want to be behind a desk anymore. And I want to go back to doing what I think I'm A, best at, and B, is sort of a really unique skill set for the Twitch community. And so we've spun up this new team, creator development. A lot of people are like, well, God, that's broad as shit. Like, what the hell is that? And, I think at the end of the day, the best way to think about creator development is that there's a lot of support structures within Twitch. And like whether that be the account managers that work with partners and affiliates, or whether that be the support people who answer, support tickets as well. But one thing that we don't necessarily have is almost like a career assistance on Twitch, right? So there are people who are Twitch broadcasters that are interested in getting into esports, or are interested in figuring out like, how do I make more of a business out of what I'm doing? Or I'm running into this hurdle as I'm growing, or I've grown so fast that it's like totally changed how I was dealing and working with my community to now. And there's all these really unique things that that we don't necessarily like focus on when it comes to our creators. And we do, like, I don't want to take away what Twitch has done in the past, but I think the point is that we get to put more of an emphasis on this thing. So more of those training workshops, opportunities, more sort of one-to-one mentorship and helping with partners. There's really unique, as I mentioned before, really unique circumstances of like, like I think I'll just say it, like one of the most interesting cases that I've seen in the last couple weeks is Dizzy. You guys know?
Oh yeah,
you know who Dizzy is? Right.
Apex Legends player. Yeah,
Apex Legend, who literally blew up overnight. To streaming to a handful of people in double digits to then suddenly having 15,000 concurrents. It was Dizzy equipped to deal with that? And if the answer is no, like, what could we do to do a better job in making sure that like Dizzy gets the support to ensure that like, it's not just like a slap in the face 3 times and then a bucket of cold water. And there's a lot of very sort of unique and specific things that we hope to mentor and help with in that area. So I don't know. That could have just confused people even more. That might be a little bit vague still. Happy to answer any questions, but I think at the end of the day is that Twitch wants to also be known to be like, we support our partners in every way that we possibly can. And we support our creators, whether, their end game is to be the biggest Twitch streamer, or their end game might be to like, build a company that is an agency for other Twitch streamers, or go on to work further in esports, or go on to be involved in game developer, whatever that might be. There's a continuing care aspect that we hope that we can start to fill in and really focus on. So hopefully that's pretty cool. Explains it a little bit.
Yeah. I think it's tough for me to ask questions because I know a lot of the answers, but I don't necessarily know if they're public, so I can't actually ask those questions. So I'm going to be fully transparent about that.
That's fine.
I'm curious to see, because what you just said was very broad, and you admitted to that. And so I think like 6 months from now or a year from now, I'm curious to see what your team has accomplished and what you guys are starting to focus on.
I mean, and me too, JP, right? Because like, I think that, look, we're not starting this team up knowing all the answers. We're starting this team up knowing that like there's definitely some gaps that we can fill, and there's some areas where we have recognized that we could use our unique skill sets to hopefully benefit some creators. And when you look at some of the things that we've done within studios, like Stream On, like the hosting and training workshops, those I think are like the early indicators of the things that we will continue to do. And we're going to keep building out more things, especially as we learn. Like, we are a data-driven company. So when we see things that work, we like to double down on those successes, and we like to experiment. We like to try new things. And so like this conversation in 6 months to a year could change drastically. And I frankly, like, that's pretty exciting about it, right? Because if we find, here's this great way that we can support, like mid-level streamers and help them level up and help them get discovered, et cetera, then we probably want to focus even more on that. So there is a wide net that I think that we're casting to also see like where we can be the most effective overall.
Cool. Is this like a management kind of thing, or more like a mentoring kind of thing?
More of a mentoring thing for sure. Yeah. Like we're definitely there are groups out there that are already doing a great job in like the management world, right? And frankly, like, we don't need, like, that's not a business I think that Twitch gets into. But who is the business out there mentoring, right? They're few and far between. And personally, this is DJ Wheat talking, that I think there is a responsibility by Twitch to make sure that we're taking care of creators in that way. This is a unique space. People have started working a unique job that wasn't around even 10 years ago. So there's like some new and interesting ways to approach things. There's some new education that is needed. So yeah, definitely more on the mentoring side.
Makes sense.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the unique case that you brought up with someone blowing up, from double-digit viewers to 5-digit viewers is definitely like there's information that can be told to that person that doesn't have like their own financial success tied to it, or the person speaking to them doesn't have their own financial success, where it's just like Twitch reaching out and saying like, hey, congrats on all the success. Here are some things that we've seen happen to other content creators that we just want to try to prepare you for. That type of stuff I think is valuable.
Yeah. And having that line of communication too, right? Because that can also just be important. Be like, maybe this person sort of has things under control, but also just needs individuals to talk to like ask questions to like have a source of information beyond like, let me Google that and see like, what do I do if I blow up on Twitch, right? So yeah, all those things are important, from whatever documentation, whatever education we could create, to even like that personal touch point of being like, hey, there's someone here that cares, that has the answers, or will help you find those answers. Anyway, it's something that always excited me, and I'm looking.
You always got to be one of the worst things ever is like you teach these streamers as well. Like you're gonna have that explosion, and then there's gonna be the drop,
right?
The great drop afterwards. And I wish someone had been there for me to tell me that, because I did City Skylines when all the streamers were at PAX, and I was like one of the only few people doing it, and I blew up from like 50 viewers to 2,000. I was like, I made it on Twitch. I'm done. It's all over for me. Easy riding. And then all the streamers came back, and I was right back to 50 viewers, and I was like, what happened?
Yeah.
It's over.
I want to answer one question, because I think it's like a good one. It came from chat. Jose Ramirez says, can you talk about fears of nepotism for those types of initiatives? Because that's also something, right? The idea of like, well, is this just mean that the rich get richer, right? Like more education goes for like, and I can tell you with absolute certainty, no. And while I can't go into too much details, one of the things I'm super excited about is a project that is working with partnerships specifically to help find ways to identify creators to offer assistance to. And even with our host and training workshop, even with things like Stream On, like we have always been very open about, hey, we are casting the widest net that we can. And if you're willing to do the work and submit a video or step up and answer these questions, like everyone would have a fair shot at that. And the idea of scale and mentoring and education is one of the toughest things. Like ask anyone who is in education, ask anyone who's been involved with the public school system, ask anyone who has a kid in schools. Like it's a hard thing to do. It's even harder in a world that's constantly changing. So I think that's a great question, by the way. It's something that like I'm always consciously aware of, and I think is important as we think about like, yes, obviously like the answer is like, no, my schedule doesn't have 30 meetings for, with Ninja, right? Like that's not happening.
Sure.
But a great question. And I think that it's fair that people would want to know about that a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, I think it's one of those things where, you've been in the role for less than a month now. Is that accurate?
Yeah. And to be honest with you, like, I've been able to work on this new job about 10%.
Right.
Because
still kind of
I'm transitioning out of a role that I've been in for 3 years. And, that just takes time. So it's probably not even going to be June when I'm like, actually, it's like I'm waking up in the morning and like, I'm 100% the director of creator development, and not like, 80% the director of Twitch Studios and then 20% director of community development today. So, yeah, that's something that is very challenging, but I want to make sure I care about my team, Twitch Studios, immensely. I just want to make sure that they're taken care of and they're in a great place to continue doing all the awesome things they've been doing. So
cool. All right. Well, maybe we'll check in 6 months or a year from now and see how everything's going. I'm sure you're obviously on Twitter and you're out there being transparent all the time. So we'll have updates.
I am.
I'm sure on your social media. Let's talk a little bit about games. We didn't have a show last week, so I haven't had a platform to talk about this. I'm sure you guys have talked about it amongst your friends and on your stream, Burke. But the way that I remember Google's announcement is I start with sugar, and then I go to stevia, and then I remember, oh yeah, they named it Stadium for some reason, but it's Stadia. That's the name of their. So I don't like the name. It's not something that's sticking with me. It's not something.
I think somebody's trying to be too clever. Like, I really want to come up with something really unique and different.
It's a weird fucking name. I don't like it at the moment. It's really just that Google thing is mostly what I think. I mean,
it's just on live. It's just version 2.0 of on live, right?
Yeah,
so
or any other. Yeah, there's been multiple people that have taken a stab at kind of this.
Last lot of people in chat were very confused about it.
Yeah, I mean, let's introduce it.
Twitch thing.
Yeah. So Google announced they had this big conference last week where they announced a platform called Stadia, and Stadia, like Burke said, is basically on live. And if you don't know what on live is, it is the equivalent of kind of Netflix, but for games, I guess would be a good way to introduce it. It's, seeing a button for a game that says play now, clicking that button, having it load in Chrome, Google's browser, and it running at the best resolution, the best graphics and all that stuff with like whatever. It can run on a Chromebook. It can run on a phone. Yeah. It can run on whatever, as long as it's owned by Google. And they did kind of a cool thing on their stage where they had a bunch of different devices lined up. They had their controller there, which connects wirelessly to the server, not to the actual device that it's using. So there's no input delay, which was kind of cool there.
Wait, there can't be no input delay.
Well, there's input delay, but it's connected.
Impossible.
Yes, there's no input delay from controller to device. To server. Right. It's controller to server is what I'm saying. Yeah. Before I get destroyed in chat for saying that.
It'll be awesome because it's like, hey, okay, let me check the ping of my controller. Now let me check my other ping to the server,
What? PlayStation's already been doing this with PlayStation Now? Actually, I didn't know that.
Yeah, PlayStation Now does have some streaming stuff built into it. It's not... There's been a bunch of solutions out there. But the big thing is that Google's coming in and saying like, hey, we have server farms like probably below where you're standing right now that can feed you a video game potentially at the best looking, much better than what you have in your own computer, and we're going to charge you for it. They didn't put prices or anything like that. They didn't really talk about too many titles or who they're going to be lined up with. They did have a bunch of developers up there. Ubisoft was doing what Ubisoft does and kind of jumping on board the new tech right out of the gate. So Assassin's Creed was in their project. I think it was Project Stream Beta was the title of it, and now they were showing Odyssey again at this thing. But it's out there. It's Google Stadia is a thing. They said they'd be talking more about it this summer, so probably E3, I guess. But
probably,
yeah,
it's a little different. Like on live was not, it failed, but at the same time, it's not Google.
Right.
Google's so massive, so much hardware, software, and they can get their name out there ridiculously. So it's going to be in your face constantly. So I don't think it's going to fail because it's not going to have the reach, like OnLive just didn't reach enough people. They couldn't support themselves. But Google's definitely not going to have that problem. They're going to be everywhere. Well, now it just comes down to, how feasible is playing games being streamed to you actually going to be.
And here's
from them.
I know what Wheat's about to say, I think. I want to say this. We're not the audience that I think this is for. I think this is for Bob and Sally out there who are like, hey, we should play some video games. Oh, okay, let's try this Google Stadia thing. Yeah. Oh, the input lag is really bad, Bob. I know, Sally. Like, that's not a conversation that fucking normal people are going to have. We will have that conversation because we will notice it right away. But, yeah. We go ahead because you were going to say something. I just wanted to preface it with that.
So I want to, right. I mean, I know that a lot of people have already kind of had the discussion and like, yes, I even went to Twitter and I'm like, man, my music's on cloud. My movie's on cloud. Like, my comics are on cloud. But shit, man, you tell me to play a game on cloud, and no way, man. I'm just like, there is no freaking way I'll fight you until I'm black and blue. Now, great, right? And JP, I agree with you. I don't think this is for us. Let's just say this blows up. Let's talk about this. So one thing working for Twitch has done for me is made me appreciate the architecture that is needed to push live video around the globe. So let's talk about Stadia as from an infrastructure perspective, right? Let's imagine what happens if a game like Apex Legends that has millions of concurrent players, like I even being Google, I struggle to think about the infrastructure that is needed to basically have a server farm that is playing and processing all of these games, and then also sending that out, right? So it's taking in all these I don't know. Does that mean there's like literally an individual server for each game instance that is running? And
potentially, yeah. And I mean, they even talked about having like multiple servers for one game if you're playing like a 4K 60, and they even brought up 8K 60 as being a thing in the future where you're potentially on a higher tier plan, one would assume. And
they'd have to have a cap, wouldn't they? Sorry,
maybe.
Apex is full right now with people playing it.
And that's what I think Wheat's getting at is like, what if there's a queue system to play a game because there's not enough fucking servers, right?
I mean, like, feasibly do that, yeah.
Listen, Google's infrastructure is
massive.
It's crazy,
it's
right?
Biggest,
I mean,
potentially biggest.
So is the AWS infrastructure. So is like Twitch's infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
But like all these infrastructures are also like built for very specific things. And like one thing that Google has certainly done over time is like their worldwide sort of data center presence would make it possible for them, But when you think about the scalability of all of it, like it's hard to think about a world where they can scale this without totally introducing some sort of crazy, ridiculous monetization method, right? Because beyond the buying of the games, I'm like, how are they supporting this? Could I have ads inserted while I'm playing a game? Because like there. I don't know. Like, I think that's the part that they obviously didn't reveal any of that shit to us. And eventually that will come out over time. But there's just all sorts of questions that beyond the fact that's like, well, you're never going to get me to do it, is that like, man, what happens if there's actually 5 million people playing? Like, that's insane.
I'm not opposed to it. I wouldn't mind playing some like high graphical games on my phone. Just like I can play Civilization 5 right here with all my DLC and everything.
The idea is fantastic.
Cool, but
and the fact that you can carry it from device to device, you don't have to have a fucking crazy, $2 to $4 grand
we'll
PC.
see how it goes. I mean,
there's a lot of what ifs about it. Like, I think scalability for one, Wheat's hitting the nail on the head there. I think the other one is like, and this is not a hot take on this, but if you look at the internet in the US, it's fucking bad. I want to say like the average speed of an internet user in the US is somewhere around like maybe 5, maybe even lower than that megabits a second. Like, it's very, 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 very low, especially when you get into the center of the US. So
slowly getting toward fiber, very slowly, slow grower.
It's going to take a while. But like with that said, I don't know how something like this could be supported if you're not on one of the coasts, right? Like, where speeds are a little bit faster. And maybe if you're Google, maybe that answers the scalability problem, because you don't have to have that many people, or you don't have to have the entirety of the US using your platform, because they can't, because they're limited by ISP constraints and speed constraints. So yeah, it's a little. And the other thing too, I'm seeing a lot of people in chat bring up other points, like there's nothing on your person or your code or anything. Like, they own everything. You're basically buying in to use their service and to rent this game, so to speak. And you can't mod it because it's running on a server. A perk of that is it's pretty difficult to cheat when it comes to like FPSs and things like that because it's running on their server. I'm sure that there's ways around that, but it's much more difficult than if you were just running it on your own PC. But
no, I hope is that it's going to be subscription based and not like individually buying games, and then they're like, well, you own it, but it's on our service.
How could they do that, right? Like, how I can't imagine that they could do that, right? That like, how my brain's like breaking thinking about like, how does the Division, right? If Google's future is, well, fuck, you don't have a platform, right? Like, are they gonna? They're going to sell more copies on individual hardware-based home devices. If it's not done by a per game basis, how, like, why would Ubisoft or whoever the fuck makes Division, right? Ubisoft. Yeah, thank you. So like, why, right? Would they even want their game on there, right? If it's like,
hey, if those cuts are good, it might be like if they're getting paid whatever it is of the subscription base of whatever. Yeah.
I can't imagine that would be better than someone paying $60 to download a digital version on their Xbox One or.
Yeah. Yeah. The business side of this stuff, potentially things that we might not ever know is like very interesting.
I mean, like, dude, what would you pay for this?
That's what I was about to ask. I would put this in like the Netflix region for me. So it'd be like
$9.99,
the $10 to $20 a month is probably what I would
hope I think this is more in line. I think this is the audience they're targeting. People on a subway, like, I want to play a game.
Yeah.
Do this.
Like, even if they got 1 million subscribers in the first year, right? About $10 million in revenue from subscriptions. That doesn't even begin to cover the potential revenues for a console title that releases on, 4 different titles. I mean, I suppose I'm not saying like, oh, they'll go exclusively to Stadia, but I feel like that would be nickel and diming some shit, right? Like, I don't know. I can't imagine. I think it is going to be very similar to like an app store where
maybe there'll be ads
your
in it
games live and you instant access. Maybe they have something where it's like, well, do you want to try it for 30 minutes, Burke Black? Because you can, and then you can watch it. Or maybe like, we'll give you an ad every 3 minutes if you don't want to pay for it. Right. And then fuck all that. Fuck all of that.
Yep.
Fuck it all. Not having it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is something really fucking cool though, I think, about seeing like, hey, this new game just came out. Assassin's Creed 37. Do you want to play it? I guess. All right, just click this button. You're playing the game. Like, there's no downloads. Yeah. There's no patching that you see. There's no driver updates. There's no getting a controller fucking connect. Like, you're playing the game when you hit that button. If they truly succeed with that, that's something that I think is pretty cool. Now, all that other stuff, I don't know if it's going to be, if that's a big enough barrier for me to keep me from doing that, then yeah, that sucks. But if they can truly deliver the promise of like, hey, click here to play this game now, and you click that button and you're playing it in your browser within a second, like the game is booting, and you haven't done anything to download it or anything like that, I'm pretty into that.
I think you're most likely right on this. I think the hardcore gamer is not going to be too interested in this, but I think the core audience that they're going for are your mama pops, your average Joe Schmo is not really into building a computer or spending the money for that. And they're like, oh, look, I too can play that new game that just came out, and I don't have to have a computer. Yay.
Yeah.
I think that's who they're targeting.
Yep. These are some of the text they showed. They're out there, I think. Yeah. They're faster than like the Xbox One X by a pretty large margin. If you want to get into the teraflops business,
but what is that like compared to a fucking baller PC?
Probably, yeah, right. Like probably less, I would think. I don't know what.
And then is that like one server? Right?
Yeah, that's one server. I think one unit.
And then how many instances can one server like put? That's
I don't know. And they were even vague in the sense that they were like, oh yeah, we can have multi-server instances running for like more power They didn't say if that was 2, if that was 4, if that was 8, like what that actually meant. So,
How long do they save your data? You know, like what if I'm like deep in a Skyrim run, but I have to go, on vacation for like some 6 months or something, and then I come back and they deleted my data.
Oh yeah, like save games and stuff. Yeah. They didn't talk about that at all.
They're going to be sending you emails in your Gmail like, hey, Burke Black, we've noticed that you haven't played Skyrim in a bit, like come on over and play it. You're going to be like visiting websites. It's just going to be like your Skyrim game's waiting for you on Stadia. Right? It's Oh shit.
Yeah. So it's a thing. There was some other cool stuff that they mentioned, and here's some tools, which I was kind of confounded with them bringing out MatPat, who's a YouTuber on here, only because it felt weird to see like a content creator so involved in something that shouldn't really this early in the process, I think, be involved. Maybe that's me just being jaded, but it was weird to see him come out there and talk about like, oh yeah, one of the cool things is that if I'm playing a game, a viewer can like play the game exactly from where I'm at in the game from what they were just watching on stream. That was one of the like tools that they introduced, which I think is a pretty cool thing. I don't know if that's a cool thing for content creators, but I think it's a badass thing for like developers, right? Like if they're doing one of these and they're like, hey, you want to check out the new Doom Eternal? Here's a demo, literally where we just left off. You can play it right now if you click this button, and then you're playing. Like I think that's fucking cool. And I think it will have its uses.
Specific part.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I've leveled up my character perfectly. Got all the best gear, all the best loot. You can just start right here.
Yeah.
It'll be
cool.
It'll be awesome when you're like attempting to kill that boss, and then someone will just pick up from where you left off, and then kill it, and then send that video to be like, man, you really suck, JP. Look, I picked up off your Stadia save and beat that boss in like fucking easy peasy.
Yeah.
It's like the new.
Okay. That would be kind of cool. Yeah, it's like bookmarks for games. That's a good way to think about it. There was some other. Do you guys remember the other two things that they like features or whatever they talked about this? There was the save state. There was
the like insta join thing, which is like if there was one thing that I wish I could like snap my fingers and make possible on Twitch, it would be the idea of here we are, we're streaming PUBG, we need a fourth, and we want to bring in someone from the community. But we have to do to make that happen is just, it's too much, right? It is sharing of information. So if there was the possibility that it's like, okay, everyone press the button and one of you will just be able to like join our team. That's fucking cool, man. Like, I think that is a big barrier of entry when it comes to streaming in general, because, like we can't, streamers cannot give out like here's my Steam, here's my list, here's my thing. It's like hard to manage those things. So if there was an architecture that just allowed you to do that, like think about how much more playing with community would probably happen as a result of that. That is super exciting to me. Unfortunately, everything else doesn't like outweigh that one perk, but I want to give it props because that's something that I really wish we had.
Yeah, I mean,
that would be fantastic.
There's a lot of cool things for it, for sure. That I'm sure there's things that you could probably do that they haven't even talked about with some of this technology that will be mind-blowing if it ever happens. But I feel like they have so many hurdles, a lot of which we've already discussed, that they got to get through first.
All right. Is there a fear of like too soon here, right? Because a lot of the discussion came around too. It's like, well, we know what Google does to underperforming things.
Yeah,
they just kind of kill it.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting to me because when a company like Google comes out and does this, if they fail, how many other companies are going to be like, well,
fuck that. Yeah.
Let's pick that baton up and let's run with it, right? Probably not that many. So that's super interesting to me to just think about, like, if Google fails, like cloud gaming might finally just sit in the grave for 10 years before technology and infrastructure and everything else has caught up to actually make it a legitimate thing.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to fail. I think I don't know if it's going to take off with mainstream gamers, but I think it's going to do well with your mobile phone base, or as long as it's good on phones, they'll make a lot of money from that. As long as you
Burt
can like
Black, ladies and
legitimately play your
gentlemen,
games on
also spokesperson for Wave, Google Plus, and probably 10 other things. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. No, I mean, you're right. It's going to come down to like who that, but that's the funny thing. No one I follow is like, fuck, man, I just watched the most mind blowing thing on the Google Press Star, right? Like, I did not see one person be like, cannot wait to use this. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
Tommy.
Yeah. Get the
Glass. There we go.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me put on my Google Glass real quick. You're like Stadia. Oh shit.
We will see. We will see. If anything, it got me more interested in E3 this year, because if they're going to be announcing stuff this summer, I would hope that they're going to be doing it at E3, because right now no one else is doing anything at
pulled out
E3.
on E3, man.
So
What's going on?
yeah, it's looking kind of grim. It's looking like E3's finally getting close to its deathbed.
That sucks, man. I remember when, like E3 was like the holy land of gaming. You know, it's like,
Oh yeah.
whole life was like, I just want to go to E3 one time. And then one time I went there, it was like, oh yeah, you came. It's like way past its prime, buddy. You missed the boat on that. Like everyone's leaving. I'm like, oh, I just got here.
Yep.
I mean, EGM was also at one point like the hub for gaming, you know, and it's just like it is amazing to me because it's like something that was so foundational to the gaming industry that is literally becoming obsolete because of technology that is available today, right? Like, Sony started their State of Play. Nintendo's been doing the Nintendo Directs. They've had more cadence with their community in terms of announcements. You know, like Square Enix, if you remember during Final Fantasy 15, they did that super badass, like, 15 announcement stream. And I was like, holy shit. Like I would always watch one of these that they put. And it just makes sense that because of the technology and because of, frankly, the cost of E3, that I'm not surprised to see that this is the way that things are kind of going.
Yeah. Someone in chat brought up a great point that I hadn't even considered. Like, E3 for the longest time has been I don't want to say a plague, but it's been an annoyance for developers because they always have to have their E3 build ready, right? Like that's where you show your best shit. And it takes so much development time to like take that vertical slice and put it onto a stage somewhere at E3 in LA. And with that gone, and with kind of like the State of Play, the Nintendo Directs and all that shit, I would think developers are like, thank God. We'll just go to GDC and hang out with our friends, show them stuff behind closed doors, and give zero fucks about E3 because we don't have to go to that fucking show anymore.
What's going to be the new thing then? Like if E3 closes down, they don't do that. You know, like I'm used to.
I think Jeff Keighley's looking real pretty right now with the Game Awards, right? Like year over year.
Yeah. And every other, right? Like all of these initiatives that are happening on a more regular basis with these game developers, like I think that could just be the new norm, right? Like, it does it like bumps up things like PAX, things like TwitchCon, things like the Game Awards.
That would be cool.
So I mean, from one perspective, like as gamers, we're not gonna lose anything except for that like 7-day like
awesome
this is
thing.
The Super Bowl of gaming, right? That sucks that we potentially lose that. I mean, like E3 is one of the largest weeks on Twitch. There's like so much shit going on. People are coming, all sorts of new users, new viewers. So that's a sad thing to lose, but it's also exciting to think about what could come from it, right? The phoenix rising from the ashes. So,
yeah.
I mean, I'm obviously biased, but I would love to see TwitchCon become like the new mecca of gaming, you know, like
that'd be pretty great.
Come to TwitchCon and see all the new game reveals and all the streamers like, I'm playing the game now. You know, it'd be so cool.
I think Twitch would be into that as well, Burks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the other interesting thing about that is like, I can affirmatively answer like, yeah, everyone would love that. But I also think like it would probably limit still the types of games and developers that would come to like a TwitchCon, right?
That's true.
if you don't necessarily have a streaming centric game, it might not be the best place, right, to do that. But I guess nowadays almost any game is stream centric. But
yeah,
Chat's not on board with that, by the way.
they're just not on board because they're not.
That's stupid. I like it.
They don't want to see any more streamers get on stage and join some keynotes or some conferences or anything like that. That's where it's at. Maybe rightfully so. I don't want to see
Trailers, chat. What if it's just trailers?
Yeah, what if what if Zeke's walking out on stage and be like, guys, we got the new Devolver hit. Here we go, roll the footage. And then walking off stage. Yeah.
At least then I'd be more interested. And I was like, oh shit, it's Zeke.
Yeah,
that'd be more exciting for me than like random host that comes up there and like, oh hey guys, we got new games for you.
Yeah, it's a thing. We'll see. I'm curious to see E3 this year. We'll obviously try to. If there's stuff to cover, Drop Frames will cover it. I know Cyberpunk will be there. At least they're out there saying it'll be there.
Today, right? Didn't they like drop a tweet today?
Oh, did they? I did not see that.
This is going to be the most important. Yeah. Maybe I'm wrong. I
did not see that.
I dream some shit sometimes.
Okay. I guess it's true. Okay, yeah. Chat's saying they did. They did do something.
I didn't dream it.
Yeah. The other thing is that Ubi's still there. If Ubisoft is the last conference still at E3, I'm okay with that. I will watch E3 just for the Ubisoft conference.
Just to get that Just Dance, like,
dude.
Whatever that,
Yeah. They always deliver. They always put on a show. It might not have the greatest games, but you're going to have a say, which is what
I'll tell you, put on a show. We went to, Gamescom had a I had no idea World of Tanks was such a massive thing over there.
Oh, yeah.
They had a live stage. There was a band playing. They had tank props everywhere. I was like, holy shit. When we went to PAX, it's like just a little booth for World of Tanks.
Yeah. And industry secret, Burke Black, if you're ever invited to a World of Tanks party, just go.
Just go, huh?
Go.
Yeah.
I mean, World of Tanks is also known as World of Money.
Yeah.
They have so much, and every single presence I've ever seen them, they're always like, hey, wait, just a reminder, like, we make a lot of fucking money, man.
Yeah.
You see, like, because literally they'll be like, we need a World War II era tank here at this convention. I don't care what it's going to take to do it. Just do it. Yeah. JP's right. Good advice, JP.
Those, yeah. Well,
I'll keep that in mind. I think I was invited to the last Gamescom, but
I'm not comfortable talking about said parties on a live stream. But in the past, they have done some parties where you're just kind of like, how does this? What? Like, what the fuck is going on? Yeah, it's a thing. They're a little crazy. They're good. Keep throwing the parties. I don't really play your game, but the parties are good. Parties are good. What else? I guess we can kind of keep up. This has been a little news segment. Borderlands is tomorrow, I guess. They're out there showing this. The Borderlands teaser from the Gearbox official platform on YouTube and whatnot. Are you guys hyped at all?
Yeah.
Is this your, what was that, Bert?
it's like now announcing Borderlands Pinball.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people have said, like, is this it? Is it going to be a BR? And I don't think so. Like, they're too good as storytellers, and they also have just like a unique, I think, style of art and gameplay, etc. What I'm super excited for, JP, is to see what an updated Borderlands engine looks like, right? Like, it's been a while since Borderlands 2, and like, that was last generation's hardware, right?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of stoked about that, because one thing I've always loved about Borderlands is its aesthetic, its style. That trailer being just a teaser is still fucking awesome.
It's still really good.
So yeah, I'd have to say I'm definitely more on the hype side. Who knows what they're going to do from a story perspective, whatever, but I expect that they're going to have a bigger game. Their scale is going to be bigger, and hopefully multiplayer is a big part of it.
Trailer though.
What was that? What's
Very end.
missing, Bert?
Epic Store exclusive.
Oh yeah. God, have you seen this is a random tangent. Have you seen all these companies like CD Projekt Red was out there? There's been a couple other ones that have been like jumping on this goodwill train by saying like, by the way, our games will be developed and put out on any platform possible that will take us. Like, it's such an easy PR win because of all this like Epic Game exclusive bullshit right now to just go out there and be like, by the way, we're going to be on every platform possible. Like, congratulations. Like, do you want us to suck your dick? Like, it's crazy. Yeah, Bethesda was the other people that were doing it. It's like, what?
I've been talking to my chat about this for a while now, but I seriously believe that it's now the days of everything being on Steam are behind us, that these startup things are going to pop up a lot more. Epic Stores, GOG, and going forward, I think there's going to be a lot more of this than anything else. People are seeing like, oh, well, I can make a lot of money if I do this. I just think it gives you... I know a lot of my viewers are like,
no, I'll never leave Steam. I'll never do it.
I'm like, well, okay, it's. I know it's annoying, but it's just a movement of your wrist to like open another browser, another launcher. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
But I think you just got to start accepting this at this point.
I think that there's something that happened, and I don't know how Valve did it with Steam, but a lot of people don't view Steam as like a DRM service, right? Like as a service, just the same equivalent to like Epic Games. They view it as like something else entirely, where it's not, and maybe it's because the platform's so developed and it's been worked on for so long compared to something like Epic Game Store, where it's just kind of fresh out of the water. But yeah, I see that happen, the disconnect happen so much that people are so reluctant to go outside of Steam, to go to these other platforms.
Like Steam, they've been doing it since like what? I think I got around Steam around 2008, and they have all this. They went through all the pains. They've, they have a good friends list. They have a good system, community management. All that stuff is there. And Epic Games comes in and they're like, well, we don't need any of that shit. We're just going to have exclusives. Yeah.
We made Fortnite, by the way.
Yeah. We made Fortnite. Yeah. Like, they don't, I don't think they quite understand that the reason Steam has been so successful is because of a lot of the cool shit that's on Steam.
Yeah.
That they should have on Epic Games. Like, it's pretty standard at this point to have some of that stuff. And they still haven't moved in that direction. And I don't know why.
Yeah.
I mean, in all fairness, it took Steam like 5 years to even have like
it did.
Right. Like it didn't start off as the wonderful gem that it is.
Totally.
I like Burke, you're right in terms of like the idea of like, yeah, it's another click. You open up this client, but also at the same time, like I have to have just the fucking Origin client to play Apex Legends, and that's all I'm ever gonna play. Like, it's a little bloated, right? Like, it's just kind of like, it's not the same thing, but in some respects, I understand why people make the outcry that they do about Steam. And I'll go and make like a mobile gaming comparison. And again, this is not like the same thing, but the reason I'll never switch to Android is because of my investment into the Apple Store from an apps perspective. And I think from a lot of perspectives, people look at their Steam library as their investment. And it doesn't exactly make sense. Like, well, wait a second. I've got 200 fucking games over here. I don't want to have the client where like 2 games are going to exist. And like, from that perspective, yeah, I get that, man. I get that. In the early days of cloud, like movies, it was the same thing. It was like, oh, I've got over here on Apple, I've got these movies, and I've got Ultraviolet, and now Voodoo started. And eventually they were like, yo, guys, this is actually fucking ridiculous. Can we can we figure out how to make this all work? And they did, but that's not going to work here because, of course, cuts come into it. So I get it. I'm also kind of happy, like I'm that whiny dude who's also like, I mean, like all my shit's on Steam, like you're inconveniencing me, and maybe I'll just not play if that's the case.
Don't get me wrong, I agree with you. I think I'm one of those people that would love to have everything in one place. It's not that I'm advocating that that they should do this. I'm saying, what can we do about it? They're
Right.
gonna do it no matter what, and gamers are still gonna buy the games even if they're an exclusive to a single launcher. You can say you won't buy it, but people are gonna buy it, so it's gonna happen regardless. What can we do?
Yeah.
How are you gonna stop it?
A lot of people I've seen have the sentiment of like, don't blame the developer by not playing their game. Yell at the publisher for putting it on that platform, right? Because like most of the time, the developers are not the people making those decisions. It's the people that are publishing that game that are making the money.
Maybe this will bring good innovation to Steam too, because isn't the biggest gripe with Steam is that their cut is so big and understandably so, but maybe Steam needs to also realize that they're advocating a policy of all these launchers to pop up because the developers are like, well, I could open up on Epic Games, they're going to give me multi-millions of dollars to go there and give me a bigger cut of sales. So I might as well do that. It makes better business sense for me to go there than to go to Steam. Maybe we should look at Steam and be like, why don't you guys make it more competitive for you? Stop these launchers from popping up. I don't know.
The one other thing I would give a +1 to Epic to is for them expanding their support a creator program from beyond Fortnite to all of the Epic store.
That stuff is cool.
Yeah.
That is like a very legitimate nod to the ecosystem that creators have created around the content they're making, and the fact that like that is something that is driving sales. So like that's kind of badass. It also means that publishers and developers are going to get a lot of data about creators that that could be good and or bad, right? Because like if now this company knows like, oh shit, man, like JP sold like 2,000 copies of this. Well, that could be good because they could be like, I want to now work with JP. But then also if like, oh, JP actually didn't sell any, like, I don't know if we maybe want to work with him anymore, right? It's like all sorts of new interesting things. But at the foundation of it, like I love that they're like as a part of their store, that is something that they're thinking about.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's one thing I wish Steam would take is like, can you imagine just having a code on Steam where it's like, hey, use this code when you check out and you'll get like $1 or 50 cents.
Yeah.
With the amount of game sales that are driven through streams, like that would just be insane. And I've never spoken with, so I don't know like how good the Epic Game Store is in terms of ROI or profit, I guess, for creators, but I would imagine it's got to be astronomical. If they're spending with the amount of people playing Fortnite and the amount of people watching those streams and the amount of times that those streams are saying, hey, make sure to use this code, it's got to be astronomical.
I know Epic Games is like really they probably have tons of money, but like how long do you think they can keep this up of this exclusive train? Because they're dishing out a lot of money for that.
I mean, Fortnite makes a lot of money. I think they're going to be doing it for as much as they can.
Yeah. I mean, also like keep in mind, like on top of Fortnite, on top of the store, they fucking got the Unreal Engine, man. Like,
yeah, they're behind a lot of big games.
Yeah, I like it's actually, they're like set up to be a massive behemoth, and it's kind of crazy to think that this all kind of was an accident to begin with, because Fortnite was not the game that they were putting their chips and their bets on.
Yeah, that is crazy.
And that's fucking fascinating to me.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy to think that if you compare kind of the origins of Steam and the origins of Epic / Fortnite, like and maybe I'm off base here, but I would think the amount of money that Epic will put into this far outweighs what like Valve had to put into Steam when it first launched. Think that's accurate?
Someone in chat mentioned early on that like the original intent of Steam was to be a patch delivery system. So like, yes, while they have had to scale and grow and like it's just they have evolved over time. So Epic finds himself in a unique position in that they get to start from a foundational point in which like they know all the mistakes that could be made in doing this.
Sure.
And like so it's just a super interesting position. I do agree with a lot of what people are saying in terms of like it being potentially innovation for everyone, because you can't just like sit back and be like, well, we're Steam, like we're gonna be okay.
For once,
certainly I would look at Epic as a threat.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is
full competition.
Yeah, competition's great. The other thing is too, we actually don't know and have kind of never known, I think, how much Steam makes because it's a private company. So like they're not out there saying how much they make on an annual basis, right?
Of course not.
Okay. But they make a fuck ton of fucking money, I'm sure.
I think like
It's
if you
safe to
start
say.
to just if you just think about don't think about Steam, think about the international and the compendium.
Right.
And think about the fact that $20 million went into the prize pool in 2018. And that 20 million was an initial base investment by Valve, right? A couple million. And so 18 million of that was a cut of $9.99 or additional purchases on the compendium. That cut, I believe, was like 25%. So that prize pool represents 25% of what Valve made on the compendium for the international. Now, the event itself cost a fuckload of money, right? So it's not like they're walking away with, let's go hang out with our friend Scrooge McDuck and go swimming. But yeah, they're making a shitload of money, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I hope that, I don't know, one day I hope that the amount of revenue that Steam generates is out there. Just if it gets leaked or if they just like fucking decide to pull their dick out and put on the table.
Probably be quite shocking when you see it.
Yeah, I just am curious to see like how much billions annually they make off of Steam. It has to be astronomical. Anyways, to start back at our original point, the Borderlands stuff is going to be happening tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern.
Oh, yeah.
You can co-stream it. It's happening at PAX, I guess.
On like their official channel or?
It is Gearbox's PAX East live stream is what they're saying. I don't know.
On like Gearbox, like.
Yeah. Here's an art. Oh, so they even have like a tweet that says, we invite you to co-stream. Here, I'll just show this. Invite you to co-stream May Theater Show Thursday, 2 p.m. Make sure to hashtag Borderlands. First time co-streaming. Here's an article to help you get sorted.
Wait, click that article. Does it take you to? Now I'm curious.
Takes you
man.
to Twitch.
It does. All right.
Ooh.
Yeah. Oh, look at that.
Look at that. It takes you to Twitch. Their little help.
It's gonna
article.
be a battle royale. It's wait and see.
It didn't tell
hope
me
not.
what channel though.
It did not tell you what channel. Yeah. Let's see.
Is it Gearbox? Is it Gearbox official?
Chad, does anyone know? I'm trying to.
Oh, it's Gearbox official.
It's Gearbox official. Okay.
Because putting official in the name of something makes it official.
Okay.
I know that.
Gotcha.
Little tip.
Cool. Yeah, I hope it's not a BR, Burke. I hope that this is an odd thing. This is an odd thing for me to be excited for Borderlands 4. But when I saw in Marvel Spider-Man the like cell shaded version of Spider-Man in that game, I thought about what that would look like in a Borderlands game, and I got real fucking excited. So if they could somehow take the Spider-Man suit and make that engine or make Borderlands look similar to that in like cell shadedness, I'm into it.
What do you think the chances are that actually because of the humor of Borderlands 3 that they make a presentation in which they just bait us all into thinking it's a BR, and then through some clever way they're like, or maybe like, dude, if they started off and it was just like 100 clap traps like fucking going at, I would lose it. Like it'd be awesome. There's so much opportunity to play off of that.
I guarantee you there will be, if they don't do it tomorrow, there will be some sort of BR joke within that game, if not multiple BR jokes, or even a mission where it's like, hey, you're going to go play Battle Royale. And then you have to like play a Battle Royale game or something like that. That'd be fucking
Battle Royales. Firestorm came out.
Yeah. I'm curious about your thoughts on it. I've heard not great things, but before we jump over to that, anything else on the Borderlands? Like some people, I don't know when this happened, but Borderlands has like a crazy diehard fan base, and I don't know when that happened. Like I commented on like Borderlands being like, yeah, I enjoyed Borderlands for like a playthrough. And then like my chat turned into this like super fan of Borderlands that I was not ready for. Like has that always been the case? Am I just clueless?
No, I don't know. I mean, I think Borderlands has always been like a beloved franchise. Like, I don't know. I mean, like, I really enjoyed it. I loved it. Would I call myself a diehard fan? Like, not necessarily. Am I excited as fuck for the next one? Like, certainly.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just the fact that it rarely garnishes negative sentiment. Like, people, like, fondly, when you mention Borderlands, are like, oh, yeah, Borderlands. Like, I played it. It's awesome. Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, there's some diehards that, like, never stopped playing it.
Maybe it's because I played the last Borderlands game I played was Borderlands the prequel. Or whatever.
Which is not the good one.
Which is not the good one. It was really bad. It was a really bad experience.
The good one.
Yeah. And then I think the other thing after I said that to my chat, I really riled it up by saying the best Borderlands game is the Telltale game. And that they didn't. It's the best one.
It is one of the funniest games.
Oh, the best Borderlands game is, or the Telltale Borderlands is fucking incredible. It's fucking incredible. Like, it's really fucking good, Burke. It's in my interest.
I've never played it, but I've heard nothing but good things about it. So
funny.
Yeah, it's
so
really good.
Like many laugh out loud, like I'm almost crying moments.
Yeah, the scooter parts are probably some of my favorite parts in like any Telltale game, especially when they play like the montage in like episode 4 or whatever the fuck that is when they're getting it. It's good. It's good stuff. Anyways, we'll see what happens with Borderlands tomorrow. I hope it's
now just released its last episode of Walking Dead, so that's it. Swan song.
I saw that.
It's in chat for that.
Yeah.
Bye-bye, Telltale.
I'm glad they were able to get it out there, though, right? Like, I'm glad they were able to finish that story, hopefully in a way that they wanted to. I saw, I think Gold Glove was playing that last night. It looked exactly like what you expect from a Telltale game.
Bad.
So, yeah. What time is it? We got about 15 minutes. Let's talk about that Firelands. Burke, how are you enjoying a game that I think had hype when it was announced, but then Apex Legends came out, and then I saw this, and I was just really sad.
Yeah.
Like, it does not
I
look
think
good.
When we were playing it, we kept talking about how all the new stuff with Apex Legends has made it kind of like the new interesting aspect of, like being able to bring back your friend who doesn't have to just sit there and watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Me and the ladies just were playing this together and just having fun in here. It's the wall that comes in. Like, I'm not the expert of battle royales by far. I'm more of the goofy kind of guy. If you want that kind of stuff, you go to like some of the other guys. But I think the general consensus that we like the wall of fire is cool. That's kind of a cool aspect to it. It looks really cool from that. The vehicles are cool, but they're almost like they're too dangerous to use because they have
giant target
anti-tank stuff everywhere.
Yeah,
everywhere. It's so readily available. You can blow up a tank, no problem. But we did find moments where we could just use that tank for assisting us getting this through something. But against a good team that knows what they're doing, that thing's a death trap every time.
Yeah, makes sense. Giant target.
But
buildings
so
are fun to
mobile and
destroy.
fast.
That's probably the big selling point for this. I think Cream really loves this more than Call of Duty Battle Royale, simply because if someone's in that building, well, you don't have to worry about going in the building and go getting. Just blow up the damn building.
Yeah.
You have so much explosives. It's not a big deal. You can do that.
I'm into that. That would be pretty cool.
I mean, that's the cool parts. It's still a battle royale. It's not innovative in any way. It's just a battle royale in Battlefield, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I've seen
not much to it.
Sacral's been playing a lot of this. I was watching Doc as well. I've seen some issues with the looting system, specifically when it comes to when someone dies. They decided that it would be like a loot pinata, that the person's loot would just kind of go,
shit it all on the floor.
just go everywhere. and sometimes
Not like
it like
Fortnite.
stacks.
Like, spreads it out.
Yeah.
You know, so you can actually look at the individual loot. This game, like, you kill somebody, they just shit everything in one giant pile, a vomit pile. Just, okay, I want that guy's, oh shit, I gotta get that guy's gun. Oh shit, I'm being shot. I want that guy's gun. You know?
Yeah, I've heard it's a mess when it comes to looting, and like things stack on other things, and the other way to like move that is to pick it up and move it over, and then go back and loot. Yeah, like
I don't know who thought that was a good idea. Like, I think it's a great idea if all the loot just falls right there in front of it, right in a big pile of shit.
I feel like they really shot themselves. And granted, you know, development process is what it is. They had a target and date. I'm sure they tried to hit it as best as possible, but with Apex Legends out there, I feel like it's going to be so much harder to enter into the BR world and have success and like just explode and blow up, kind of like what we've seen with other BR games. Because like the revival stuff to begin with, I think changes the game in such a good way, in such a better way. It changes the formula of BR. I think the looting in Apex Legends is the best looting of any BR by a very, very wide margin. Like they nailed that entire process of looting. Yeah, and the ping system, like every BR is going to have a ping system. And if it doesn't,
it was so good that Epic implemented it within 10 days of Apex coming out.
Yeah.
Right? Like that, I would be giving everyone on that team who came up with that mechanic a raise after that. Be like, you guys, our number one competitor just implemented this in a game. Like, that means that we did something fucking right.
Yeah.
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 Awesome.
And it's free. That's the other thing too. But yeah,
like right now, as far as I'm aware, it's this single player or four player squads in this as well.
Oh, those are the only two modes right now.
In this.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I saw you. So the process to get a vehicle, are they just laying about? Because I saw you like holding a bunker, like holding a button on a bunker or something like that.
There's 3 ways to do it.
Okay.
As far as I know, there's like a bunker that you have to move the wheel to open the door, and it makes a lot of noise.
That's what I saw you doing.
Inside there is like a safe and a vehicle of some sort, a vehicle of note. I've never seen anything shit come out of there like a Jeep, you know, or something like that. It's usually like a tank or some kind of armored vehicles in there. So the work to get it usually rewards you with something. You can also find vehicles just lying around. Like we've run across like Jeeps and cars and different things just lying around. And then they have another way where you could like actually call in a vehicle. But you just find as loot laying around, they'll airdrop you one in. But we originally thought that you could only get like tractors or half tracks and stuff like that. But last time we played it, this tank that I'm on right now was a summon. They parachuted that down on top of me. We were like, okay, we have a death tank, so let's go.
Can you get helicopters or any?
You
flying?
can, yeah. I don't know if they airdrop those to you, but we've seen those little 4-man helicopters flying around.
Really?
But the controls on those are garbage.
Yeah,
it's super bad.
Is it?
I don't know what that is about. Oh, it's so horrible.
Yeah, those are for the joystick players, I'm sure.
Yeah,
those are for the people to get in there and be like, "Fuck, that guy's either really good or he's gonna crash in about 5 seconds."
Now, it shows you on the screen, but there's like a fuel indicator, and you get half fuel when you get into these tanks. So you have to find fuel on the field to fuel it back up, and ammo as well. You're limited on ammo, so just getting a tank doesn't necessarily mean that you're gonna insta win with your group. It's you gotta get its fuel and everything. So, and at the same time, like I said, like most of the teams that I saw, they don't even use the damn things. They just look at it and they go, "No, that's a death trap," and they move on.
Yeah. Were you having an issue getting games? Like, did it seem pretty populated when you were playing it?
Like 1 to 2 minutes, I guess.
Really?
When we were in a group of 4, yeah.
So in this 1 to 2 minutes, in the sense that you were waiting to get into a lobby, or that the wait was to get the lobby filled?
1 to 2 minutes to find a lobby, and once we were in the lobby, the game launched pretty quick. Because it's only 64 people right now, and I imagine they're just testing that out like they did with Call of Duty, and they're gonna bump that up.
Okay.
Hopefully, so because the map is huge.
Yeah.
And it's Battlefield, so the game's gorgeous, looks beautiful. And here I made a huge mistake. I thought I was gonna get my tank through there, but then I didn't want to abandon my tank. You know.
Is there any unique mechanic to the fire, or is it just the fire comes in?
It's just fire. No,
Okay.
nothing unique about it as far as I could tell. It just like any other battle royale. You're slowly taking damage.
Yeah. Is
I
it
think it should instigate you. I mean, it's a wall of fire.
Is it
like holy shit? If
is
I
it
touch
always
I die.
moving in, or does it move in at like announced periods?
It's same as any battle royale.
Okay.
It moves in when it you got a time limit to get away from it, and then it slowly creeps in, and it just keeps doing that. It's like normal battle. They didn't innovate in that in any way.
Okay. All right.
It
Yeah.
just looks cool. And
I
that
didn't
looks
play
way cooler
any.
than a force field. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I would agree. The fire does look a little bit better.
I watched a lot, so I would like to give the spectators perspective. This game was not fun to watch.
Yeah. A little too boring.
Not for me. And honestly, like it was so funny to hear everyone's complaints about the looting, because just watching, you're just like, what is this? What is going on? And then like to hear everyone basically back that up with like, I cannot fucking believe how bad this looting is. It's just like it doesn't even make any sense, like it is funny to think about even, the people who do it good. It's like, man, I know in Fortnite that like I'm picking up a bandage because guess what? It's a big old fucking cartoon bandage right there. Or, like I know I'm getting a syringe in Apex because it's like a little perfectly represented in the world, like little med kit. It's just, and then I'm just looking at these giant, like horribly textured boxes and shit. And I'm just like, I don't like, they want you to just be baited by trying to loot and just getting shot in the back. And that seems like a horror.
Well, and there's even, Burke, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's like a loot. It's not instant. Like there's a loot time. If you want to like loot a heavy armor, you have to like hold down E on something for a certain amount of time.
Oh
right?
yeah.
And it's like long.
there's-
It's not quick. It's like a long
Right.
amount of time. Yeah, that's
You can't lose. The speed is not in this like it probably should be. With people that don't have the patience. They want you to like look down at it, hold E, and then it fills up a bar. Then you put it on.
Yeah.
Then you
That's
have to
unfortunate.
swap out the armor. You have to do that too, and yeah,
Can
there's a lot of this.
Can I ask about one thing, Burke Black? Is that like, like Apex Legends, especially given the map size and how quickly you can traverse the map, like it is probably one of the most heavy third-party battle royales, and that like when you hear a firefight, like you're pretty inclined to like go over and see what's happening. How did it play out in the Battlefield map? Right, where was it like pretty constant sort of engagements, or like did you find yourself getting in a fight and then immediately like another group is rolled up because like they heard the fight and came to it?
No, I think we just kind of like a lot of it was just moving with the bubble, and then we'd find like a group and we get into a fight, and then it would move to the next thing. We had instances where like two groups merged on us at the same time, but it's not as fast as Apex. Nah, it's not like a
more
constant
more like
stream of-
PUBG and
Yeah,
sort of
more
the
like
cadence
PUBG,
of
I
your
would say,
fights.
yeah, I guess PUBG you could say, yeah.
Yeah. So someone in chat saying a
Call
lot
of Duty,
like old
rather,
Arma.
I should say.
Oh,
It
really?
feels more
Okay.
like, yeah, like Call of Duty style. Like, we had moments where you were alone, once, we cleared this area. So, then we move on to the next thing, and maybe you can hear some stuff in the distance, but it's not as fast as Apex by no means. But
Okay.
it's still, I mean, obviously, like people who love Battlefield are going to enjoy the hell out of this. Like they didn't have to pay anything extra for it. They just get it.
That's good.
So, if you're part of that crowd, it's like, well, I only play Battlefield or I only play Call of Duty. You got your Battle Royale now.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
It's not bad. It's not horrific. They just got some stuff they have to fix.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. And then this is in terms of getting it, you just go to Origin, and I'm sure they have like a giant splash screen that says download Battlefield 5 BR if you own Battlefield or something like that.
I think it's just auto updated. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think if you have Battlefield 5, I think you got it now.
Does it have to load a separate EXE, or is it within Battlefield?
I think it's within Battlefield.
Okay, cool. That's
Yeah.
good.
It's
Yeah,
just
as
like,
I'm glad
WoW.
it's not
I think-
standalone bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah,
If
I
it's
think
just a
it's
game
all
mode,
just in there.
that's good.
Now, I'll tell you what is actually bad. If we have the time.
Yeah.
Here
yeah,
it
yeah.
comes.
Not from Battlefield. This is Battlefront 2. Now, I'm sorry, Star
Oh.
Wars Battlefront 2 fans. I'm going to shit on the game just a little bit because they just announced capital supremacy.
Okay.
Now, You guys remember Battlefront 2 back in the heyday, you know, Xbox and all that stuff? You know, that scene where we had the ships and we fly into the battle cruiser, the big ship, and you had to go in there, plant the explosives, then fly out as it blows up. You know, you won the match. So the whole thing was like Battlefront was gonna be like, yeah, we're gonna do something like we're gonna do that. That's what we're bringing back. Everybody, get ready, it's coming back. We all got excited about that. Massive disappointment. All it is just maps. So they got the main map, capture the points, and then here come the shuttles. Like, get on the shuttles, and you're like, oh, we're gonna go inside. You can see the ship in the sky. I'm gonna get on this shuttle. We're gonna get on that. Can't freaking wait. You get up to the thing. It loads you to a loading screen and then puts you on a new map, and that's it. No persistence to that at all. It's just a tug of war of maps. I'm on the ship now. It's just a map. There's not another raging battle below or anything like that on the planet surface. I'm on a new map with the entirety of the server. We're both on the map. We have to go over here and hit those objectives again. And then if they win or lose, it determines if we get it, the match ends. If they get it, it loads us back to the other middle map. And we do the whole process over again.
That kind of sucks. That seems super disjointed. That seems like a limit, something that the engine was not meant to do is the reason why they do that. Like, yeah. Huh.
Tell me, there's somebody says like the technology's not there yet. They had it for Xbox One. Tell me that crap. And they have the technology now. There's a game called Angels Fall First. They do it right now on Steam. So don't give me that nonsense that technology's not there. I was just so disappointed, dude. Like, I don't know why they half-ass it. You know what I mean? Like, they know what the fans want. They know what we wanted, what we were excited about. And we're like, well, let's just do a tug of war with maps instead. Have fun, everybody. Yeah. You know, like, come on, guys, man. They know what we wanted.
It sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks. How's after all the I'm curious because I haven't even thought really about Battlefront. Is there still a player base like after all of that fucking drama? Like, is it super popular?
There's a loading screen right there. I'm being loaded back to the other map now. We just lost capturing that, and now we're loading back to the planet, and that's exactly what it does.
That's pretty bad. Is there like a player base that actively plays this? Is it pretty popular still?
Yeah, the Star Wars fans are still playing it. Yeah, you know, like it still has a dedicated. Like, I didn't have any problem finding matches. Let's put it that way. Like, it was never like a long wait.
Okay.
And
God, it looks fucking.
You see him
so
up there?
pretty.
Look! See the ships up there? You're like,
That's pretty cool. I remember when this game went into beta or alpha.
There
it's gorgeous.
In the fight, that'd been so cool. But whatever.
Yeah.
But now I don't know. I mean, obviously, it's probably not got a massive player base like, you know, something like Apex, something like that. But I'm sure it's I don't know. I think maybe 2,000 people. Somebody quoted to me like, "Hey, it's got 2,000 people playing right now." Okay, cool.
That game mode or just the game in general?
I think in the entirety of the game, on PC. I think somebody quoted that.
That's a little low.
I don't know.
That's a little low.
Because that's bad.
Yeah, that's a little low.
You know, as long as they can fill games, I guess that's good. But it's like the danger zone.
Mode has bots.
Yeah,
it's got bots in it. So it said 32 on 32 combat. Only 20 of you and 20. Only really 20 versus 20 plus 12 bots.
Huh.
Damn.
I don't know why they have to have bots, but whatever.
Gotcha. Wait, did the sun just come out, or one of your lights blow out? Or what?
Dude. Apparently, the sun has now come out, which is like.
I was just so confused.
Funny.
Now it's starting to go behind a cloud or something.
I just like pressed the slits of the window together. So that...
All right.
Don't quote me on the 2,000 chat. I don't know for sure. That's just somebody in chat that was like, right now my statistic thing says there's 2,000 people playing. So take that for the grain of salt. I don't know.
All right, let's see. Let's see if I can do some Google foo. It's not. There's nothing official. Oh wait, what is this? Battlefront Stats.
Oh snap! Is it like actual?
It says Star Wars Battlefront statistics. Current online players. This might be for the first one though. It says current online players is 3,500.
For Battlefront 2?
It says Star Wars Battlefront EA. So I guess that's the first one.
So the first one has more players on it than the
Oh, yikes.
Yeah, because they have like Battlefield 4 stats. Like, there's 8,000 people that logged in yesterday. Or sorry, the peak concurrent yesterday was 7,800 for Battlefield 4.
Whew.
Battlefield 3 was 7,800. This is PC. There's still people playing like, oh no, this is still Battlefield. There's like 7,000 people playing on PS4 still. That's more than I thought.
Yeah. I know it's got a player base to it. But it's Star Wars, and it's not.
Yeah.
It doesn't play bad, like it's still a fun game.
Yeah.
It's just I feel like they just missed an opportunity to like really wow people. That's all.
All right, here we go. The Battlefield 2142 stats. At this point in time, oh wait, this looks like the GOT frag over. What the hell? Wait, doesn't this look like GOT frag? Look at this. Like this.
Yeah,
UI
it totally
for
does.
this website. That's fucking weird.
Yeah, and
It does.
somebody just said the technology's not there. There was the game right there. Battlefield 2142 did it right. Oh, come on. The
2142 is
technology's
ahead
not
of its
there,
time.
My ass.
2142 was ahead of its time for sure. All right, let's take a break. We usually take a break about an hour and a half in. We'll come back. Still got Sekiro to talk. We got Burke is playing some more co-op games that I'm blanking on. Swedish mech games last night, which we'll be talking to about. There will be some Skyrim. Generation Zero, that's the name of it. There's going to be some Skyrim VR talk because I have questions for Burke because I know he's played a bunch of it.
Is there a Path of Exile section, JP?
We'll talk. I know you have been
I
playing
hit
some Path of
700
Exile.
hours, man. I'm feeling pretty proud of myself.
Okay.
Which basically means that I'm no longer wearing diapers. I've got pull-ups now.
Maybe. We'll talk about it after the break. I haven't had a call from you recently asking to explain anything, so maybe you're right. We're going to take a quick break. More drop frames coming up right after this. We'll see you guys then.